My project was to research and study medical journals, and I focused on the brain. The article I read focused on how pain and cognitive tasks can enhance the functional connectivity of the brain network. The researchers David Semenukowicz and Karen Davis found that pain can affect cognitive processes and modulate a network presumed to be involved in focused attention. So what does this mean? First, it's important to understand the brain. There are 6 major regions of the brain. The frontal lobe is responsible for motor function, problem solving, memory, language, judgment, impulse control, and social or sexual behavior. Next is the parietal lobe, which is responsible for reception and correlation of sensory information. The occipital lobe is for visual processing. The cerebellum does coordination and regulation of muscular activity. The spinal cord connects the PNS to the brain and transmits sensory neurons to the brain. The temporal lobe is responsible for understanding speech. Also important to know is the TPN and the DMN. These are 2 anti-correlated networks in the brain, meaning when one activates, the other reduces. The first network is the task-positive network, or the TPN. This network activates when one is performing attention-demanding tasks. As you can see on the picture, the TPN uses the frontal lobe and the occipital lobe. The other network is the default mode network, or the DMN. This is sometimes called the task-negative network. This network is responsible for innate tasks such as retaining and recalling memories and understanding emotion. The DMN activates the frontal lobe, the temporal lobe, and the occipital lobe. Here we can see how pain and tasks activate or affect the brain. On the first picture, the person was focused on a task and their brain is very engaged. On the second picture, pain was being stimulated and you can see how less of the brain is being used. Now, when both pain was being stimulated and the person was trying to focus on a task, the brain was less active. This means that difficult tasks activate the TPN and reduce the activity of the DMN, whereas pain completely suppresses the DMN. So, to relate this to sports medicine, I'm using TBI or concussions. TBI is a trauma to the brain. TBI mimics the brain activity of pain. The DMN will be suppressed, which means the athlete will have issues with social situations, memory, emotions, and other innate tasks. Right now, there is no good way to determine if someone has a concussion. I believe that by making functional magnetic resonance imaging machines more accessible, we can measure athletes' DMN and TPN activity levels, much as we would take an impact baseline, so that when we do suspect a concussion, we can use the fMRI to check if the activity levels are abnormal and thus prevent athletes from suffering CTE. Any questions?